Hey everyone, Justin here, co-founder and CEO at Trellis. And we have a really special two guests here today. They're both from Moves Management Consulting. We have Sasha Lewis, who is the executive officer and principal. And then we also have Janessa Jones, a database manager who works very closely with their customers on their Razor's Edge pieces. But I wanted to let them both introduce themselves. So first, I'll pass it off to Sasha.
Hi, Justin. Thank you so much for having us here. We're excited to be here. Again, my name is Sasha Lewis. I'm the CEO of Moves Management Consulting, and I've had the privilege of working in the nonprofit sector for a little over 2 decades, both as a frontline fundraiser as well as a back of the house data operations manager.
Amazing. And
And
Janessa?
yeah, I'm Janessa. I'm the database manager for Moves Management Consulting, and I have about 14 years of nonprofit experience in admin and database work.
Amazing. So we have 34 years, if I could do the math correctly, of experience in databases. And at Trellis, we all know we're really focused on this Razor's Edge integration. So why not talk to the people that just do this? They don't do any other part of it. They're really focused on that database and making your database and your data as clean as possible. But what I would love to start with from both of you, Sasha, I'll let you go first, is what was it like trying to integrate event data into Razor's Edge before Trellis?
That's such a great question. And I chuckle because Razor's Edge and I go way back to the RE6 days. That was my very first introduction to Razor's Edge. So I've had the privilege of seeing it evolve over the years, and then additional tools come into play to help make it more robust in the modern day world of technology that we have. And so early on, when we first started to see some other platforms like the second party or third party tools that we were seeing to support event management, they did all of these great things. They did cool things with auctions, with paddle raises. They made it easy for the nonprofit to add auction items and engage with the donors that were giving and being able to have this interactive experience. But from a data standpoint, it made things really challenging. We'd have a bit of data that had the participants and the guest information in table A and then, or in data set A. And then over here, we would have the premium items and the items for the auction. Over here, we would have the transactions. And then over here, we would have which transactions was associated with which premium item. And not a lot of common identifiers between these to make it easy to import this data into the database quickly, easily, so that we could create donor event participation records, transactions, sponsorship records, all of the things that came in the middle of that. Then it was even more complicated by the fact that many times nonprofits, or myself included, we would enter in some of the gifts before the event because they would, of course, come in as sponsorships. Sometimes we would get that actually in the event database, and every now and then we might forget to put it over there. And so post event, we're then in this absolutely horrific situation where we're trying to migrate data in. We've got duplicate data happening. We might have accidentally charged someone twice because we inadvertently put in their donation more than once, or their sponsorship, or excuse me, their paddle raise more than once. And so it created a lot of administrative challenges post event. I feel like we spent days, if not weeks, sometimes post event, just trying to manipulate the data and feel confident enough before we could get it in the database, whether we were entering it in manually at the time or again using data import tools. So for me, it's a fun project, but it's not an easy project getting post-event data into Razor's Edge for that matter, or for any database for that matter. But Razor's Edge was definitely a lot easier in the administrative process, but it was still quite the undertaking to get those data files put
Yeah.
together, mapped, and ready
And
to
when you
go.
think about it, like days and weeks after an event, like you've missed the follow up window, right? Then,
Mhm.
like it needs to be done right away. So and I'm sure the teams wanted it as fast as possible, and you were doing everything you could.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a never-ending challenge between the time is of the essence
Yeah.
opportunities.
Great. And what about yourself, Janessa?
Yeah, I would say pretty similar to
Hmm.
Sasha. It would take us, clients would send us over the information. It would take us about a week and a half to, it's an all hands on deck kind of thing. So it was a really heavy workload to add on.
And not part of their workload at all, I would assume. It's just this totally other thing they have to get in a week and a half is, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then again, recognition and follow up and all of that was 2, 3 weeks out. So yeah,
Yeah.
it
And
was
without a
a little challenging.
consulting firm that specializes in it, do you think they would have ever got the data in?
I think they
Yeah.
would have. It would have just been a very slow
Hmm.
process. Obviously, we know how to import, we know how to do all of that, so it'd just be a lot of learning curve on their side. It's possible, but again, it's not gonna be as
Hmm.
quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And I think it was Sasha that first heard about Trellis. So I'd love to hear about when you heard about Trellis, what that was like. I know you're working with a couple customers that are using our software. Just tell us about the journey and really what triggered the change for you and why you said, yeah, we should give this a shot.
Absolutely. I will say in my career personally, I've seen a lot of experiences where organizations didn't get that event data in. We got the donation data in, yes, we got the gifts in, but we never got the
Mhm.
participation information and we never understood who attended, who did we invite, did they join, whose table were they were at. So as a data-driven fundraiser, I get excited about that information because it's really great for moves management, for moving the donor through the process of cultivation. But through a lot of the work, a lot of times we kept looking for what are the platforms that integrate with Razor's Edge. And when we see integration, it means a few different things to us. Most platforms will say that they integrate with Razor's Edge and any other CRM when they are able to import a gift transaction into the database. And so that typically can just be, in simple terms, the campaign fund and appeal. That is considered integrated by many platform definitions. That is not my definition of integrated. That is a nice gift import. It's fantastic and it definitely saves time. Don't get me wrong, but it's not what we need as fundraisers. It's not the information I just shared a moment ago. It's not telling us who's there, why, and who they're interacting with. And so we had two clients that were both needing very large events, but large size organizations with significantly huge six-figure fundraisers that they're putting together. And we got down to the point where one of the things that had to happen is we needed a real integration with Razor's Edge, which means we needed something that actually helped us manage the event process. And along the way, for those of you that are on social media, there's this very fantastic, I hope I'm allowed to mention it, Razor's Edge user group that talks about the different things that are happening in the Razor's Edge Twitter sphere or Facebook sphere. And one of the things that kept coming up over and over again from clients that were using and looking for recommendations on event platforms was how great Trellis was. So I started taking a minute to go investigate this opportunity and was really excited to see what we learned about first when we first introduced to the platform. And then we're even more excited when we saw the integration with the app's NXT seating chart. And that was such a hugely necessary, important part for our clients was to be able to actually have an interactive seating chart. And so you're telling me that we've got a platform, sorry, I get excited, that we've got a platform where we can drag and drop our guests, we can register and get our gifts transactions in there. We're dealing with all of our sponsorship information and we're not having to double entry anything. I don't care. I'm going to make that work because the time savings alone for staff, for stewardship, for all the other things that we know have to happen is just so phenomenal. So again, it became a lot of really great feedback on a Razor's Edge user group forum that first made us aware of Trellis. And then for the clients that we onboarded, it was neat. And I'll let Janessa tell because she was really the superstar in all of this. We onboarded two clients nearly at the identical same time. And it has been an incredibly exciting opportunity to see them take this platform and really use it to help run their fundraising events.
Amazing. Yeah, I don't really have much to add there other than I really would love to hear. I think you set the stage really well, Sasha. Hey, this is what people thought integration was. This is what we think integration is because we are experts in this and we have a standard that isn't even that high. It just is a reasonable standard for what integration is. And just to add something before I ask Janessa to jump in with what the difference is and what it looks like is in that implementation journey is we have to prove when we do demos to our organizations that we really truly integrate. And we have to spend a lot of time because unfortunately some software companies have ruined the trust there. So we really have to like unpack, hey, we do it at the constituent level, we do it at this level too, and we do it here, and we do it on the event module and the tracking and participants. It's you're not wrong in saying, hey, this is an actual integration. So I'm curious, Janessa, was it for you that really tipped the scales?
Yeah, I think for me, I love that it will go into the gift level, it will go into the event module. So I'm not having to go back in after it goes through to connect it to the event. The fees and the fair market value information is all coming over. And what I really enjoy is the reconciliation. So like when the gift it comes through Stripe and is goes to your bank account, it automatically updates the post date in on the gift. So that saves us a lot of time. That saves accounting a lot of time. So that's a very great feature that I enjoy.
Amazing. Yeah. Let's dive into that a little bit because a lot of people are like, oh, we need batches for batch ID. But it's from my understanding, and I'd love to hear yours, it's because the finance team wants a batch ID to reconcile to the payment. And so I'd love to hear you talk about that and maybe what Trellis has done to, as you just alluded to.
Yeah, so when a gift comes in, it will come in with a post date that is just the date that the transaction happened. And then once the transaction is in the bank, a report will be generated in Trellis, and then we can also pull a report in Razor's Edge as far as reconciling that. So we're not having to go into each gift and updating those post dates. Those post dates are automatically, so any report that accounting is receiving, as soon as that transaction happens, they're getting that post date and they're getting that information. So that's helpful.
Yeah. So it's not just the database managers that get it at every point.
Right.
It's the finance team. And that's why a lot of shops are still doing batches because that finance team needs that. But we added that payout ID and it seems to be solving that in a different but just as easy way.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. So I'd love to hear when you think back to some of those moments with so let's talk about implementation and setting up the integration. What were some good parts around that, like before the event?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out
Hmm.
Rebecca. Working with Rebecca has been amazing. She was so helpful. She knew that we had two clients that had an event within 3 months and that we needed to hurry up and get set up. So she was very supportive. The support team is very easy to connect with, very easy to reach. So all of the training and documents that the knowledge base that you have on your site was very helpful, especially the initial setup with Rebecca. That was very helpful as well.
Amazing. Yeah, we have a full dedicated just integrate your data session because we know how important it is. We do this, and I know you both know, we do this because we want to turn event attendees into long term donors. But you can't turn long term donors into long term donors if they're not in your CRM. So that's why and everyone needs to take their medicine. So we help them take their medicine at the front and do that full meeting. So that is great to hear. And then when you think about maybe the night happens, now after, at the end, you said the reconciliation was a lot different. Could you talk about that?
Yeah, so we're not having to import gifts anymore. Everything is already in. The fair market value is already coming in. There's really there's not much gift entry
Mhm.
work after the event. We're still acknowledging, so we're able to get those post event thank yous and acknowledgments out that same week, the following week. So there has been it has shortened the amount of time it takes us to manage
Yeah.
gifts.
And you were talking about it's about at least a week and a half the old way.
Mhm.
What would could you put a general timeline on it this one?
Yeah, let's see if I'm taking one client in. So probably, yeah, about a week, probably like the week after the
Hmm.
event. If the event is on Saturday, we can get letters out by Tuesday.
Wow.
So yeah, so it is pretty impactful in that
So it's
way.
like 1 to 2 business days versus 1.5 weeks.
Yes,
Great.
exactly.
And I mean, you just talk about it from a fundraising point of view. The impact is huge on that, right? You get it out right away. And I don't know if you've looked at this, but something exciting, and I get chills thinking about it, is I was chatting with one of the solutions consultants at Blackbot, and they can actually set up auto templates based on a fund or campaign you're in. So you could even automate a lot of that follow up and messaging to just happen, right? And I know I've seen some of our customers start to do that now. So it's not even that it shortens the time, it like automates the whole thing. And what also, I'm just curious, what other changes do you see versus before?
Yeah, I think our clients are really enjoying it. It's the system as far as like day of event, the check-in system, the purchasing, signing up for raffle tickets. One of our clients just had 10 volunteers. They each had an iPad. People were buying raffle tickets from them. So it was very easy to use. I like that the features as far as like check-in and purchasing items is available. You could do it from your phone, you could do it from a computer, you could do it from an iPad. So that has been very helpful. for clients as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Yeah, you need to get them for however they want to give. So that's there. Sasha, is there anything that you wanted to add in before I get to the final questions here?
No, I just wanted to point out that she said reconciliation was fun. And so for those that, are thinking about this, that's how much easier this is made. That's what we get to enjoy is making sure all the numbers match. And that's what we're spending our time on. And no, from our perspective, it's been a fantastic tool. And we have really enjoyed the experience of working with the company as well as onboarding the clients to it and having them see the impact of having an easy tool and what it's just saving in staff time and leading straight to great stewardship.
Amazing. So I know they put the fun back in fundraising. Maybe it's put the fun back in reconciliation. I don't know if there's a fun word within reconciliation. I'll have to work on that. I love it. I love it. Okay. So we got some results. We talked about what it was before and after. The last piece I'd love to ask is the last question is if one of your clients said, hey, we're looking for an event tool, and they asked you, why do you recommend Trellis? What would you both say to them? And Sasha, I'll kick it to you first, and then I'd love to hear Janessa as well.
This is easy. It is the only one that I know that has a true full integration with Razor's Edge. It saves so much staff time that it's got to pay for itself.
Yeah, and I would mirror that. The setting up the event page in Trellis is super easy. Marketing gets in there, already knows it's very user friendly. So it's nothing hard coded. It's just drag and drop, edit text. So that's very easy. And then also just the saving the time and also learning it is very simple to use. So that's helpful.
Amazing. Thank you both. Sasha, if people wanted to learn more about moves management and find you, where would they go? And if you do want to just give a high level of the clients that you work best with, please take this time to do so now.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So you can find us at movesmc.com. That's MOVESMC.com. And we work with small to medium sized nonprofits and we help support data entry, data management. And if, like many organizations, you've got a messy database, we can help you get it clean.
Amazing. I love that. And hey, as a tech geek, maybe not a database geek, but a tech geek, it's been a lot of fun getting to know these two individuals and what they're working on because they get into the details and that's where it really matters. So thank you both so much for this. And that's it for today's recording.